Right, all you legends. So we have ordered the new starter motor. Still no luck with the spark. It's actually being very intermittent, so it'll go from like this bottom cylinder to this cylinder, and then it'll be the two bottom cylinders, and then we'll have no spark. So obviously we needed to replace that starter motor. So here's the old one, and then there is the new one. It cranks over so much better now. So what we're going to be doing now is testing the stator and seeing if that's actually got any resistance in that, and just do a couple of tests to see what it is that's not causing the spark. So obviously we would need this stator to work, plus the magnetic ring that's up here, which holds a charge in here, which delivers it to our 4 coils. So I'm going to try and show you as best as I can. I'm not that great with electric stuff, but I get the understanding of the basics of it. So I'm going to try and show you guys. So I'll sit you up on top of here. I'll change the stand I have on the GoPro, and I'll show you basically. Alright, sorry about that. The GoPro decided to turn off again. I don't think they like these cold mornings, this GoPro, for some reason. Just shuts off. Still have 50% battery. But anyway, I'm going to perch you guys up on top of this engine and show you how I'm going to do some testing on this. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, you guys are up on top of the engine there. So just to clarify, I have done a compression test on this, which was 110 psi on all cylinders, which is great. That means that the engine's actually pretty healthy. So what we're going to do now is do a test. So I'm going to unplug this one here, which goes to our stator, a base resistance plate. So what we've done, so it's just this one here. This runs along here and into here. So this is on the Johnson 90 horse, and sit you guys back up there. Let's go down to this. So I've unplugged it now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put one onto the white wire here, which we're going to run through here, and then we test each other color. What we're going to need to see is around that 40 ohms. So I'll set this here, you guys can see that there. Just going to plug this onto the white one, making sure it hits nothing else. Will this light help? There we go, so the light might help a bit better. So we're going to go on to the blue one, and you can see there, so you see there we got 39.6 ohms, so we're in range there. Then we're going to go to the purple one. We've got 40.1, so that's obviously within range as well. And then we'll go across to the green one. You see there, 38, and then our last one, which is the same again. So what that tells us is that this wiring is fine. Now for the other test we do is, so what we're going to test now is our cranked timer base wires. So a stator resistance test, sorry. So we're going to test between these two wires here, and we're looking for around the 0.478 ohms, and then we're going to go test the brown wire to an earth, and we need to have open for that one. That means it's not grounding out anywhere. And then we do a VAC test while cranking, and we need to see what volts we get there. And then we'll see how we go. So we'll move on to our next step, which is this one. Alright. So we'll put this back here again so you guys can see. You guys can see that there. Oh. Alright. Alright. So you can see that. Alright. So all I've done again is pin that out in there and put this one onto there, and we have 0.48. Alright, so that means that's working. And then we're obviously going to be going to ground, and we've got OL. And then just to make sure we're on the right wire, we're just going to go over to the other one. And we're OL. So if I tap this on here, see how it changes? So that means it's grounding out. Whereas when it goes to here, it's showing that we're not grounding out onto the motor. So it's caused it so it won't be able to generate a spark. So that means that is fine. So those tests are working. So now I think that we got to leave this one off to test this from AC volts to see if it's actually generating a spark to here. So you're going to have to go off there because I've got to crank it. But I'll set you up somewhere a bit easier. Alright, so we're going to be putting back onto this plug again. So we're going to, instead of being on our ohms, we're going to go to the VDC AC, press the AC volts, and then we are going to put a wire onto this. Then it's going to be tricky. So while I'm doing that, I need to earth this out. Just stay on it. And then, so we go like this. $101. Nah, is that right? Let's go again. Hey, down, Amy. What you doing? Is it going to be loud? Four. Okay. So what we had on here was 104 volts. Alright. Alright. So that shows that actually is working very well. 104 volts. So that is actually cranking very good. So what I reckon the only part of basically the ignition system that's left, because obviously we've moved these around, which we did in the last video. It showed that the spark was still staying in the same spot, so it wasn't a dead coil. But I know these don't look super healthy. But once we get it running, I'm going to start replacing basically all these other things so it makes it more reliable. But I reckon it is going to be this power pack body thing. I don't know the exact technical name for it, but I reckon that is dead. So that'll explain why we're getting random spark in different cylinders, then none. So what is happening, it's probably obviously shorting out in here. So what I reckon I'm going to do is order a new one and we'll whack that on, and that's probably going to take a week or something to get to me, and we will go from there. But maybe in the meantime, if I feel like doing some wiring and stuff up the front of the boat there, start actually tidying that up, I'll film it. But at this stage my priority is to try and get this outboard running, which will be pretty awesome. And we still got to look at the gearbox oil. I've got to figure out with that ram, it's pitted on the main shaft, so don't know if it's too far gone. But overall, we are slowly kicking some goals. We are getting more and more forward than when we first brought it. So we've got the tilt to work, we've got a good crank and healthy engine, we've got 110 psi on all the cylinders, like maybe like 1 psi difference. But overall, I think we're going really well. I will go over all the earths, but it's obviously showing that it's working. But I might put new cables on there, that way just everything is perfect, because it's been sitting for 2 years again. As I said, that's what my mate knows, it was sitting for 2 years, so who knows before that. But we do have this other boat out here that I got given. I'm going to try and pilvage a few parts off it. There's like this here, the anchor light, maybe the steering cable, because this one's a lot newer than my one. The one on my boat, or sorry, the one on the other boat is actually very stiff, whereas this one's new. It's very easy to turn, so you can see, very easy. I can literally turn it with one. Hello, Ivy. And we'll take this and maybe swap that jockey wheel over, and possibly swap wheels over and springs. I don't know, obviously want a bit more clearance on this one, so maybe the guards, they want more sturdy. So, but we will be filming that. Until then, see you next time. Catch you, legends.